Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I want to be the first to welcome you to this new year and this goal setting class. We have people joining from all over, so be sure to pop into chat. Tell me where you are, say hello. I want to be also welcome because I'm also so excited because this is the 5th year in a row that I've taught this goal setting workshop. So I've been so looking forward to it because it's my favorite way to bring in the new year. If you've been with me before, be sure to put in chat if this is your 5th year. I mean, like, major kudos if it's your 5th year, 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd year, 1st year. And if it's your 1st year, I want to especially welcome you. I also would love to introduce myself. My name is Vanessa Van Edwards, and I am the best-selling author of Captivate, The Science of Succeeding with People. I also am the founder at Science of People, and my entire mission, my entire goal is to help you achieve your goals faster. And luckily, that's what today is all about. We have so many good things. It's been a rather interesting year. I don't know if you felt that way. So when I sat down to write this webinar, because I always teach new science, I wanted to do something different. So we're going to be reviewing the science of goal setting, which we've done every year. But I'm also going to teach you a new technique, a new strategy for how I think we can win more in 2021. Because 2020 turned out a little differently than I expected. Okay, let's see. Okay, hi from Ohio, from California, from Minnesota. Oh my goodness, they're going so fast. Virginia, Dallas, Nashville, Sweden, 1st year, welcome. From Florida, from India, Brooklyn, baby. I like that. Texas, from Honduras, from Berlin, India, Arizona. Oh my goodness, Portugal, 1st year. I want to go to Portugal so bad, my friends in Portugal. So I also want to talk about the fact that last year when we were together and I was thinking about my goals, things turned out a little bit different than expected. And actually, I was trying to find, I'm going to share my screen with you. I was trying to find a meme or an image that sort of accurately represented 2020. And I feel like it was just one never-ending infomercial. Did anyone else feel this way? It just like kept coming, and then there's more, and then there's more. And I don't know about you, but I started 2020 with really big plans. I was like, oh yeah, you were with me this last year probably. I was like, this is going to be a big year. This is going to be a good year. And then all of a sudden it just started to change. And I was like, all those big grand ideas that I had at the beginning of the year are different. I don't know about you, but sometimes I think about what I would tell my grandkids or a time traveler if they were to come back to 2020. And I think this is where things begin to change. When I was thinking about how would I even begin to explain this year to future generations, I thought, you know what? It was hard. There were some things we learned, but this will make a great story one day. And here is where I want to reframe and reset. So take a moment with me. And I want you to think about what would the great story be? If you had to reframe or reset what 2020 was there anything good? I think that sometimes when we're talking about 2020, we're talking about the last 12 months, we tend to focus on the bad. Today, I want to focus on the good. There are some amazingly good things that are happening this year. This is just in the last few weeks. So just in the last few weeks, they discovered a drug that reverses age-related mental decline within days, suggesting loss of cognitive ability isn't permanent. Another random piece of good news for you. Thank goodness there's something called a reef goat, which just tickled my heart. This seaweed-eating giant crab could help save Florida coral reefs just in the last few days. And this one I really love. Now, I know that we have more than just Americans on this, but hopefully you can resonate with this as well. Nearly 70% of Americans are more appreciative of loved ones than ever before the heart of 2020. There are good things that are still happening, and that's what I want to focus on today. Right now, we get to think of 2020 as a past. And the question is, what are we going to think about in our mind when we think about that? I don't think that 2020 has to be a lost year. So if you felt like 2020 was a lost year, I want to reframe that for you. And what I want you to think of, and this is, I do this for every year, but it's particularly important for this year. I want you to think of your one word or one phrase that could describe 2020. This is down the line when you're thinking about this year, what's the reframe? What's the word or phrase that you want to remember? The thing that you want to remember. And the reason why this is important is because it grounds us. I think that we tend to focus on the negative, right? So these were the original words that I kind of came up with, COVID, yucky, never again. This was the year of sweatpants. 2020 was the year of sweatpants for me. I don't know about you, but I never wore pants. I'm not wearing pants now. I just didn't like them. So it was the year of sweatpants for me. It was certainly the year of Zoom and video call. These are not how I want to remember last year. Instead, I want to think about reflection. This is a huge year of reflection, self-growth, self-care, family time. I got more family time than ever. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the world. I also kind of learned to savor a slower pace. I was forced into that. I was also able to focus a little bit more on my fitness just because I was home. So what I want to do, and I'm very curious, I want to see if I can see in the chat, what is your year? So give me your one word for last year. And if you want to, in parentheses, you can put the word that you were like thinking about doing, but you're trying to get rid of. Okay, I'm dying to see this. Let's see. Here we go. Adaptability, opportunity, resilience, rethinking, adapting. Okay, adapting is the word that's come up twice. Radical acceptance. Oh my gosh, Jeanette, I know. Self-improvements. Pivot and surrender. Oh, I love that one. Hillary, that's so good. What I want you to do here is, and it might take a little bit to think of that positive word, but we're setting yourself up so that when you think back to this year, when it's brought up, you don't go into that downward spiral. So I don't know about you, but when I hear one negative thing, or I think of one thing that I felt was really unfair or unlucky, it then gets me on this irritability spiral. I'm like, yeah, and COVID was horrible. And then that was terrible. And then that happened. And I start to get more and more irritated. Like these words are sort of tipping points that work me up. What I want to do is take those words away so that when someone mentions 2020, you can be like, adaptability. Oh yeah, that was my year of resilience. That also is going to change the nature of your conversations. When you're talking to friends and family and colleagues, and they bring up this year, you can say, you know what, that was my year of resilience. And they can say, oh, really? How? And then you have a totally different, much brighter, much more exciting conversation. Okay, I got to see more of these words. Okay, hope, self-growth, spirituality, adapting, learning, and home. Amy, I like that one. Jacqueline, exhausting. I get you. Connect, freedom, 2020, awesome. Yes, for some of us, it was a good year, right? And I want to hear that. Contemplation, agility. These are beautiful words. And by the way, what's fascinating about this past year is these are totally different than years prior. And when something is different and we're already out of our comfort zone, we get to learn and do new things. We've already been pushed out of our comfort zone, which means we can stay out of our comfort zone and learn and try and do. All right, let's go back into, by the way, keep writing in those words. I think they're inspiring for everyone. And let's talk about what we're going to do with that word. Okay, here we go. All right, so changing our words to something more positive. Here's the next thing that I want you to do. So every single year, I've taught what I call the goal wheel. So if it's your first year with us, welcome to the goal wheel. This is a very quick way to get a snapshot on your growth and your goals for the year. So if you already have this, if you've been with me in years past, bring out your old one. If you need to go grab it, we have this as a download at sciencepeople.com/handout. You also don't need the handout. If you just want to rate these areas on a scale of 1 to 5 on a piece of paper, that's totally fine too. But if you want the fancy handout, you're welcome. What's cool about this is I have one of these for every single year. So I actually track them and I'm able to get a very, very quick snapshot of, that was 2015. Oh my goodness. Here was 2019. And so what's great about these is I pull them out every year and I'm able to look at and see what was my snapshot. So what we're going to do is we're going to rate the 6 areas of your life on a scale of 1 to 5. These 6 areas of your life are what round you out. That's why they're in a circle. If you have very low numbers, if you feel unhappy or dissatisfied, those 1 or 2s, that means you're going to have a smaller circle. If you have a very full life, a lot of 4s and 5s, you have a much fuller circle, which means lots of room for development and growth and enjoyment. My goal is year by year to grow your circle. So for those of you who have been with me for 5 years, my goal is that we're getting to more 4s and 5s more consistently so that your circle is growing, so that your life is expanding, so that your happiness is growing, right? I just love the actual physical seeing of that. So let's go through these one by one. And again, you can grab the handout or don't worry, you can also just write on a piece of paper these 5 areas and then we can rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. So here's kind of what it looks like, right, when we fill this in. And let's go through these one by one. So what I would love to do is, as I go through these in a circle, I want you to put your number in the chat if you feel so brave, and also write it down for yourself. I'm curious to see this year where our highest numbers are and where our lowest numbers are. All right, let's start with business. How do you feel about your work, your career, your business, your effectiveness, your success? This is really a question of capability. Have you been feeling productive? Have you been feeling capable? Have you been feeling efficient? So give that a scale 1 to 5, 1 being, ugh, wasn't so great, 5 being, I killed it this year. Curious what those numbers are. Friends, and by the way, I know I'm going through these a little bit fast. I kind of want you to give your gut, right? I don't want you to overthink it too much, because the goal here is that it's a snapshot of your life, of how you feel right now. So don't overthink them too much. If you have to later, you could always watch the replay too. So let's talk about your support system, your friends, your social relationship. Do you have people to call when you're in a good mood? Do you have people to call when you're in a bad mood? That's kind of how I gauge friendships. If you're not feeling like you have that support system, you don't have those people on speed dial, you can give it a 1 or 2. If you feel like, yes, you've built your support system, you've got your social relationships on track, I want you to give it a 4 or a 5. All right. Family. So as that stat just shared, 70% of Americans believe that they've been able to support or appreciate their loved ones. How are you feeling right now? Are you missing them? Are they there for you? Have you been able to deepen your family relationships with your immediate family or your extended family? 1 for low, 4 or 5 for high. Just a quick snapshot. This one's a little bit harder, but one of my favorites. I wrestled on this goal wheel originally when I created it many years ago on creating a personal passion category. I wasn't sure if I should keep it or not, but then I realized that being able to have passions that stoke you, that make you feel excited, that make you feel capable, is a different category than work or social or spiritual. So personal passions, if I were to ask you, what do you do for fun? Or what are you most excited about? Would you have an answer to those questions? Do you have projects, hobbies, fun activities that fulfill you? This one I bounce all over the place. If you look at my personal passions year after year, they're all over from 1 to 5 to 4. So how are you feeling about your personal passions this year? Let's go into spiritual. So you can define this however you feel. This could be your faith. It could be mental health. It could be personal journeys. It could be a mindset. It could be how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Typically, I like to think about spiritual is, what do you think about right before you fall asleep? Does that feel calm and fulfilling? And what do you think about right when you wake up? Are you excited? Are you energized? Or are you more tired, more burnt out? That's what's going to give those 2 different numbers. So give that one a number. Last one, the one that actually I think we talk about this a lot. I think over New Year's, we tend to talk a lot about health goals, fitness goals. And I actually put this one last on purpose. It's incredibly important, but I think we're already very focused on it. So I like to put it last. So this is very simply, are you happy with your physical health and wellness? Are you happy with where you're at? Give that a number. Okay, I'm so curious how these numbers are going. I've only been seeing them off to the side. Let's see here. All right, how are we doing? Okay, fabulous. Thank you for all these numbers, by the way. I've been scrolling and scrolling. Okay, I see some really high numbers. This is fantastic. I'm also giving you a little bit of time here, so round out your numbers. If you had any trouble, I'm looking in chat, round out your numbers, make sure you fill in those ratings. Oh, Dr. Veronica Powell, love this. I gave me all of them. Oh, you have a really full circle. I love it. So again, the goal here is that we get a snapshot of our life, and we're trying to expand them to 3s, 4s, and 5. The more space we have, the higher our ratings, the more we feel like we can enjoy and be fulfilled in our life. Okay, fantastic. So I want you to round out those numbers, and I want you to save these, because it is a wonderful way to reflect not only of your word for each year. So I have my word for each year, but also to look back and say, wow, for 5 years in a row, that one area has been low. This is the year I'm going to tackle it. Or wow, for the last 3 years, I've gone up on a row in every single area. So it's a really great way to track your growth. So I highly encourage to save this for next year, because we review it every year together. All right, let's go back into, now that hopefully you have your numbers, let's go into our next phase. All right, so you have business, friends, family, personal passion, spiritual health, and hopefully your one word for the year. So write your one word or phrase next to these ratings or in the center of this goal wheel. Now let's move on to the next one. I think it's really powerful before we think about resolutions and goals to think about where we're coming from. The biggest mistake that people make when they're setting goals is they're only thinking about their future self. But to inform our future self, we have to think about what we learned over the past year. And so now that you've just done that exercise, fresh out of it, now what's your one word or phrase you want to have for 2021? What's great about this is every year I think of my phrase for the past year and I think about my ideal phrase for the next year. At the end of the year, you get to check in with yourself and see, was I right? So think about everything you learned from last year. What is your new one word or phrase? What is your new one word or phrase? I'm dying to hear. Learning everything about last year, seeing where your ratings are this year. What is your word or phrase for 2021? Here's what I want you to do with it. This is going to ground us. That word or phrase that you want to have carry you through all the way the next 12 months, write it on the top of your to-do list. Put it on the top of your calendar. I want you to get a Post-it and put it on your mirror or on your desk. Make a digital Post-it and put it on your desktop. Set an alert or reminder in your phone at your favorite time, 11:11 or 5:05, so that you are constantly reminded of this goal. The reason for this is because I know as soon as I get into the year, logistics take over. The day takes over. You're thinking more about being in your life, right? You're planning dinners, you're thinking about traffic, you're thinking about your daily task list, and we get farther and farther away from the bigger goal that we had with this entire idea. And so what people have told me since their goal webinars is that by the end of the year, sometimes they've forgotten the word. They haven't thought about it in so many months that they actually forgot the word. And so my goal today, and this is a new part of this, is to actually make that word grounded in everything that you do. So it's in your calendar, it's on your to-do list, it's on your mirror. Tell your kids, your family, your friends, your partners, because if we forget it, it means we're moving farther away from our goals. And the way that we're able to make so much progress on expanding those numbers is I'm making sure that we're constantly reminding ourselves, oh yeah, what was that goal I set in January? When the world feels out of control, our goals ground us. So in spring, I taught a webinar on burnout. And one of the biggest things that we talked about during that time was our feeling of control. And there's a psychological concept called a locus of control. A locus of control is how much you feel you're in control of your own life. I actually would love to show you how this works, but first I want to see what your words are. I'd love to see them. Okay, let's see, here we go. Words for next year. Okay, moving forward, intention, connection, personal growth, victory, Ruby. Victory, you're going to wait until you see what we're going to learn next. Harness creativity, believe. And by the way, it can be a little phrase. If you need a phrase, if you need more than one word, that's okay. Connection, self-alignment, habits, family, compassion, worshiping, quiet, being more quiet. This was a year, TJ, this was a year of quieting for me. I feel like I really was forced to savor and quiet. Okay, so post that word. That word is going to ground you and make you feel more in control of your list. When we know what's serving our greater purpose, it's so much easier to get things done. And often we forget about that grounding purpose. All right, let's go back into the next thing. I'm so happy that someone brought up victory because that's for what we're going to be talking about next. So if our goals ground us, the problem is that we tend to forget our goals. Not only do we forget our goals, we also wait to celebrate them. So one of the things I've learned this year is we tend to have really big goals and we say, I'll be happy when I achieve that goal. And we end up pushing off celebration, savoring, happiness, and rewards until we get that goal. So we say, oh, when I get that raise, then I'll be happy. When I accomplish that thing, then I'll feel successful. You know, I'm not going to celebrate until I achieve XYZ. I'm not going to be happy until I lose 15 pounds. The problem with that is then we are constantly pushing back and pushing farther away our feelings of happiness, reward, optimism, celebration, and success. And this year, this was my biggest problem. This was my biggest challenge. In a year where I couldn't achieve all my big goals, I felt like I was constantly saying, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when there's a cure for this. I'll be happy when we're through this. Well, if that lasts for weeks and months, then I go unhappy for weeks and months. And so this is the issue that I've been trying to tackle this year, which I want to share with you, because trying to change my mindset from big goals to small goals has been the key. And this year I've been really savoring the concept of what's called a micro win. And this is the technique that I want to teach you. I've taught micro wins a little bit in the past around productivity, but this year is the year I realized, wait a minute, micro wins can actually change the way that I live my life. So a micro win, to define it, is a small accomplishment, achievement, or moment of empowerment. It's a small moment of winning. And the key here is empowerment. Micro wins make us feel capable. They make us feel excited. And what's interesting about this is the science behind winning. I read this study a couple of years ago and it sort of played around in the back of my head. And then I picked it back up at the beginning of this year. Winning is one of the fastest ways to change your physiology. The moment you win, it changes your entire body. So in the moment of winning, it produces a couple different chemicals. So simplified, it produces testosterone. And this is for both men and women. So testosterone, and this is a very simplified look at testosterone. Testosterone is the chemical of power. It makes us feel strong. It makes us feel capable. It makes us think faster and run faster. It makes us feel like we can do more. Have you ever checked something off of your to-do list and felt like, whew, I'm on a roll. I can really do anything? That's actually testosterone. If you're one of those people who loves checking things off your to-do list, it's because you get a little hit of testosterone the moment you do it. The second thing that winning does, and again, winning is such an underutilized tool that I think we have in our self-development, because it also triggers dopamine. So I love dopamine so much, I have it on my wall. Dopamine, very simplified, it does a lot of things in our body, but simplified for us is the chemical of pleasure. It makes us feel excited. When I thought about this webinar today, I would get excited. I got a hit of dopamine because I've been waiting and waiting to share this new science. When you think about something that excites you, a personal passion, calling a friend, doing something that you've been looking forward to, that triggers dopamine, and dopamine makes us feel excited. The interesting thing about this is what research has found is that it doesn't take a big win to trigger these chemicals. We think, oh, I don't get a win until I win that raise or win that challenge or win that deal. Actually, winning can happen in much smaller ways, and those small ways can fuel us if we take advantage of them. I want to add one more thing to dopamine. So I've talked about dopamine before in social interactions. So in social interactions, it makes us excited, it makes us feel connected. But when we're talking about it in terms of our life, our goals, and our tasks, dopamine is the chemical of motivation. What this means is that not only does it make us feel good, it actually makes us want more of what feels good. So when you have a small win, it not only feels good and it feels like a celebration, which we all need more of those right now, right? I need all the good moments I can take. It actually makes you think and behave more like a winner. A small win is more likely to set you up for more bigger wins. And so the worst thing that we can do is wait for the big win. When we wait for the big win, we're actually depleting ourselves of the exact chemicals we need to win more. And so when we're talking about burnout, we're talking about being reset, we're talking about feeling exhausted or getting up in the morning and feeling like I can't do this for another day, the fastest way to physiologically change that, to give you the chemical that you need, to give you more energy and excitement and motivation, it's dopamine. And it's free and in abundance in our body if we know how to tap it. So I love big goals, and I want you to have some big goals. But what I want you to do this year, and this is a totally different way of thinking about your year, is I want you to begin to create micro goals. So you can have your big goals. And actually, by the way, every year, for those of you who've been with me for previous years, I have you do goals for each area of your goal wheel. You can absolutely do that. Think of the big things you want for your business, your friends, your family, your passion, spiritual, your health. But I also want you to think about your micro goals. These are the small things that you can do that will make you feel capable, empowered, and excited. I'll give you a very real and personal example that I have been dealing with this year. So one of my big goals for 2020 was to do book number 2. So I've been teasing it a little bit on social media. A couple of our People School students know about this. So Captivate was a dream come true. It changed my life. It's been changing lives. If you've read Captivate, I want to thank you for reading it. It's absolutely changed my life. And so I thought, okay, I'm ready for book number 2. And so 2020, I was like, okay, I'm going to think of an idea. We're going to pitch book number 2. We're going to sell it. I'm going to write it. So that's a big goal, right? And I kept telling myself, I won't be happy until I've sold book number 2. You can see where this trap is going. I won't rest until I get book number 2. I won't feel that this year was a success until I get book number 2. That was basically telling myself I had to feel unhappy, unsuccessful, and beat down until I got the book, which, by the way, could have taken months or years. So that was the first thing, as I was pushing off any kind of success or celebration for myself until I got it. The second thing is, which most people don't know, is when you sign a book deal, for a nonfiction book, you have to agree to a certain word count. And so for this book, for book number 2, it's 65,000 words. 65,000 words, 65,000 words, 65,000 words. It's a lot of words, right? And so, yay, we got the book deal. That's the good news. We got the book deal. So excited. More on that later. And I was like, okay, I got the book deal. Moment of celebration. You can ask my husband. I maybe celebrated for a moment. I was like, yay, book deal. Okay, 65,000 words. Time for 65,000 words. I put myself right back on the big goal treadmill. And then it was all about, I'll be happy if I get 65,000 words. I'll only feel successful if I have 65,000 words, which takes 6 to 8 months to write 65,000 words. And then I also kept thinking, I'll be happy in 18 months when the book comes out. So it takes about 18 months to 2 years for a book to come out. It's a long time. And so I was like, I'll be so happy in 18 months. I basically was making a promise to myself that I wasn't going to be happy for 18 months. I was going to basically put all of my success in the business section on hold until I got 65,000 words done and it was out. I was miserable. And I still struggle with this goal of only focusing on the big. So I started to think, okay, I cannot wait for 65,000 words. And hopefully, by the way, as I'm sharing the story, you're thinking of some things in your life that maybe you've been pushing off your success, your celebration. I was like, okay, I need to have smaller celebrations. I can't wait that long. And so then I was like, you know what? 1,000 words is a lot. 1,000 words takes a lot of effort and energy. I'm going to have a mini celebration every time I hit 1,000 words. That's 65 wins. That's 65 things I get to celebrate. I also thought, you know, what's another really hard thing that makes me feel capable? And remember, a micro win is when you get it, you feel like, yes, I did that. I got that. So the other thing that I realized I had that feeling is in Captivate, I picked an anchor story for every chapter. That's one inspiring, empowering story for chapter. And I'm, of course, doing the same for book number 2. It's hard to find those anchor stories. Oh, it is so hard to find the right one. It has to be empowering and impactful, relatable. So I thought, you know what? When I find my 12 anchor stories, each anchor story gets a little celebration. And the last one I realized, you know, I get to celebrate every chapter too. That set me up to have a win, 65 micro wins for every 1,000 words, to celebrate every time I get an anchor story and to celebrate for every chapter. It has completely changed the way that I write. It's completely changed my day. It's also changed the way I do my tasks. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about not your task list, not your to-do list. I want you to think about your win list. Specifically, I want you to think about for every day of tasks and to-dos, because we're going to have those. We're going to have some tasks and to-dos that do not feel like wins. I have those every day. But for every day of tasks or every day of duties, I want you to think of one 10-minute win. This is something that makes you feel good, feel capable, feel excited in less than 10 minutes. Here's where I think most people go wrong is most people think, I want to be happy. So they think, I got to do something that makes me happy. Happy is hard, right? Especially in a world where we're in now, where we have a lot of work, where we might not be able to see our friends as much, not be able to see our family. So happy is great, but a win is something a little different. A win is something that makes you feel capable. So is there something that you can do for 10 minutes that makes you feel like I got this, I'm good at this, I excel at this. This makes me feel like I can do anything. That 10-minute feeling of capability or something that makes you feel excited. So instead of your task list, and I know we're going to have those tasks, that's okay. A lot of the times when we look at our task list, we think, oh, obligation, overwhelm, limits, right? When I look at my to-do list, I'm like, oh, I have to do all that today. All right, does that sound familiar? I have to get blank done. I have to do XYZ. There are those things we have to do. But what gets you through that obligation list, that to-do list, is a win list. When you look at your win list, I want you to think, ooh, I'm excited to do that. Doesn't have to be huge. Ah, that's a good possibility. That might feel good. That might sound fun. That might make me feel capable. So even if you have a guess, if you're not sure what a win is, make a win list of possibilities, things that might feel good. This should also be a list of things that make you feel like, there's opportunity there. There's something there. There's opportunity for a little bit of dopamine. There's opportunity for a little bit of testosterone. A win list is full of question marks, where a to-do list is full of exclamation points, right? Question marks open things up. So I want you to think about, what are your micro wins? So for each of the categories, all 6 of these categories, you have a rating for last year. Now I want you to think about your one for 2021. So download a new one or draw a new one or write a new one. For 2021, what are your micro wins in each of these areas? You could do a big one if you want. You can do a macro goal if you want. What are some of the micro things that you can do? Here are just a couple of ideas. So as I'm doing this, I want you to put these on your goal wheel. And by the way, if you feel brave enough to share an idea for a micro win that you have, please put it in chat, because I think it gives us all ideas when we see each other's. So here are a couple of my real micro wins that I have done the last few months. So in business, my business projects are huge, right? Big book goals, big YouTube videos. There's not very much I can do in 10 minutes. Even 1,000 words a chapter doesn't take 10 minutes, right? Even 1,000 words, if I'm lucky, I can do in a day, 2 days, right? So I realized, okay, my win list is good, but it's not quite 10 minutes. And so one thing that I found is in People School, we always have our students reply to comments. And so they put their goals, their aha moments, their learnings. I freaking love it. I love it so much. I look forward to checking People School comments every few days. And that's because it takes me about 10 minutes. I log in, I check in with students, I see what they're learning, I see where my students are, I can track them as they as they finish each lesson, and it gets me so excited. It reminds me of why I do what I do. It takes 10 minutes, I can reply. It immediately gives me a feeling of win. 10 minutes. Another really quick one. So something that I learned in quarantine the last few months was I was always waiting to have an hour-long block to catch up with friends. Well, as a mom and as a business owner, I never have an hour block. It just never came. And so what ended up happening was I always say, oh, maybe next week I'll be able to talk to my friend Paige. Maybe next week I'll have an hour to catch up with my friend Gwen. And so what I realized is I made a deal with my closest friends and I said, hey, I never have an hour, neither do you. I'm going to call you if I have 10 minutes. And if it's only 7 minutes, if it's only 4 minutes, it will give us a little bit of time to check in. And so we made a deal. All right, 10-minute video calls. Small, but it really helped me feel like I could actually check in more frequently. So with the family, so this is something that we do in my family, which is my favorite part of my day, is at the very, very end of the day, we sing to YouTube videos and have a piece of chocolate. It usually takes about 4 minutes because the video that we like is 4 minutes, unless my daughter Sienna likes to watch it twice, and then it's 8 minutes. And it's the best part of my day. We sing at the top of our lungs. It's horrible. None of us have good voices. And we have a little piece of chocolate. It's 10 minutes that I look forward to every day. And for me, it's a win. So personal passions. This year, I didn't have much time for personal passions. Like I wanted to do big stuff, learn pottery and, learn how to make sushi. That was not going to happen. So I was like, okay, 10 minutes. What can I do in 10 minutes? And I was like, I'm going to learn how to make the best pancakes in 10 minutes. I'm going to learn how to make 10-minute pancakes that are just mind-boggling, incredibly good. And that was my big goal this year for personal passions. Start small, right? But every time I make those pancakes, I'm like, nailed it. I like drop the mic, drop my spatula. I'm like, nailed those pancakes. Maybe I'm the only one who enjoys them in my house. Hopefully they enjoy them as much as I do. That was a small win. I'm just giving you ideas, by the way, as hopefully you're filling out your own. For spiritual, this was a hard one this year. I realized that a lot of the time my mind is going. I don't know if you have this where thoughts are spinning and spinning and spinning. And so what would happen was I would take a walk or I would take a run and I would listen to a podcast or I would listen to music. And that also kind of got my mind going. So what I realized is the one thing that I have to do is take 10 to 20-minute walks with nothing, no clock, no phone, no music, no podcast, just 10 minutes with myself. And sometimes those walks are painful because I don't want to be with myself because myself is an overwhelm or anxiety. But most of the time, I feel like those 10 minutes are getting a little bit closer to quieting my mind. I think someone in chat said quieting. That was incredibly important. So my big thing was just a 10-minute walk with nothing. For health, hard to do big health things this year, so I focus on small. I do a 10-minute stretch with my daughter, Sienna, and she loves it. She calls it a workout. She does the stretches with me. Sometimes she lays on me while I try to stretch my hamstrings. It's funny. It's silly. It's a good stretch. And by the way, on some days, I don't even have time for that 10-minute stretch. And so I try to do 1 minute of breathing, just 1 minute of deep breathing. These are all examples of ways that I've gotten a little bit of control back in a very uncontrollable world. The big thing that's been happening in the last year, and I think is going to continue for the next year, is we are not in control. There's a lot of external forces pushing on us and changing our focus. These small wins are small ways of taking back control. It doesn't matter what's happening in the news that day. If I can make 10-minute great pancakes, right? It makes it just a little bit better. Maybe I can't get fully back into shape the way that I want to, but if I can do a 10-minute stretch with my daughter, that's a win. That's a piece of control that I've gotten back. So I'm very curious. I want to hear your micro wins. I'm going to go in my chat. Let's see what we got here. Hopefully you've given some really good ideas to each other as well. Okay. Oh, yay. People said they can't wait for book number 2. It's going to be at least a year, friends, at least a year. I think we're at next spring 2022. Don't worry, I'll share more about it as it comes. Okay, push-ups every day, reading for 10 minutes, mini chores. Okay, someone said mini chores. I love that idea. Prayer, start my blog. Okay, so Michelle, start blog is a great example of, that's a big goal. If you can take that start blog into a task list and a win list. So sure, there are tasks you have to do that may not be as fun, like, registering the domain or coming up with your categories. But there could also be wins that you could do around your blog, like naming your blog, like coming up with a color scheme for your blog, like putting in your headline or your bio for your blog. So I want you to come up with a to-do list or a task list and a win list so that when you see the obligation piece, you also see the excitement piece. So that's the goal here, is to think about both of those together. I love the 10-minute video chat or text. Yes, make a goal. 10-minute daily safe talk. Love it. 10 minutes of an audiobook. So 10-minute learnables or 10-minute listenables. I don't think that's a word, but 10-minute listenables are great. That's a really great way to win. I'll give you one that I just thought of as I was getting ready for this phone call. So getting ready for this video call. So I was in the pre-room getting ready for you, doing my vocal warm-ups. And I was asking my husband and my teammate, Rob's here. He's in chat too. I was like, okay, like, how does it look? Does it sound good? And I realized I've been cutting my own hair because, quarantine. So I've been trying to learn how to cut my own hair, and I totally missed these chunks. Like, just totally missed them. And you know what? I'm kind of excited to recut my hair later. That's my micro win for the day, right? A little bit of vulnerability that I have a completely uneven haircut. Oh, yay. Okay, cuddling. I love it. 10-minute fun with staff. Cleaning my desk every week. So for all my high conscientious folks, those are people who love details. If you love a detail, alphabetizing your books, such a win. Doing a mini clean, organizing your cabinets, those are all amazing. For my high conscientious folks, those are major major micro wins. Okay. All right. So keep putting those in it. Jan asked, does the book have a Spanish version? Yes, we definitely have a Spanish version. I think it's called Cautivar. Yeah. Captivate is in 16 languages now. What? Crazy. Okay. Let's go back into what we do with these. Okay. So if we are thinking about these micro wins, and hopefully you're kind of rounding out your task list. Let's do here. Does that work? Let me micro win again. Hold on. It's a micro win, by the way, every time I share these slides with you. Every time I can share these successfully, I'm like, I wanted something. Okay, let's go into them again. Let's try that again. Okay, so here is the goal. You want to set aside 10 minutes every day to win. If you can change your physiology in just 10 minutes, get a little bit of dopamine, a little bit of testosterone, that will change your motivation, your energy. It's anti-burnout. If you can, do it with a partner. Please, please, please send this training to someone that you can do it with so you can share your win list. Get accountability partners on winning. We often get accountability partners on our big goals, and that's wonderful. I love it. But I also want a winning partner. Can you win with someone where you share your 10-minute wins, or you have friends that you say, hey, I only have 10 minutes to call you, but you're my win when I call you for the day. So please, please, please send this to someone so that you can do it with them so you can win together. Here are a bunch more ideas. So one thing that I've committed to, one of my micro goals this year, is I realize we don't have time for long videos. Like I used to watch 40-minute YouTube videos. I used to listen to, hour-long podcasts. I don't got that kind of time anymore. And so this year, my goal is on my YouTube channel is to try to only do 10-minute YouTube videos, snackables, learnables. And so that's my commitment to you is on YouTube. I'm going to try to put out 10-minute win videos for the next few months because I think that sometimes that's all we have. Go for a 10-minute walk, reach out to one old friend. Here's a really good 10-minute win. Are you ready? Digital cleanup. If you're not into cleaning your desk, which I love that idea, do a digital cleanup. Go unfollow people that don't inspire you. That's a win. So that when you do check social media, it's people who actually inspire you, right? So make sure you clean up that social media so it's only wins. Make a healthy smoothie. That's an easy win. Listen to 10 minutes of an inspiring podcast. One thing I've been trying to be more okay with is I used to save all my favorite podcasts and be like, oh, I'll listen to that when I have 44 minutes, which of course never happened. So now I've given myself permission. Just listen to 10 minutes of the podcast. Eventually you'll finish it. Or listen to 10 minutes of your favorite audiobook. And that's been really helpful for allowing myself to just be okay with just 10 minutes. If I'm like, I got 10 minutes of an audiobook in, I'm like, I learned for 10 minutes today. That is actually a win. That's also a reframe, by the way. On a personal note, I tended to save my books and say, okay, I'll be so happy when I finish this book. But now I've reframed it that I'll be so happy every time I can give it 10 minutes. And that's a really important, empowering reframe that even 10 minutes for your health, for your friends, for your personal development, for your business is 10 minutes closer. And that also makes us push off things less. I think big goals encourage procrastination because they're so big and scary. Micro goals or micro wins help us want to do them faster, and it helps us not procrastinate. Easy one. Text a family member or friend and tell them you love them. That's it. Do a 10-minute task towards a big goal. So you often hear a lot about chunking, right? So maybe you have a big goal. Can you break them down into 10-minute wins or 10-minute tasks? Think of 10 things you're grateful for. I think you could probably even do more, but if you just did one a minute or even 10 things in a row, I can do this with my family as well or my friends. That's a really easy, even shorter than 10-minute activity. And here's the big one, which is learning one new thing. So if you can come up with a win list, amazing. The next level is to come up with a learn list. So are there things that you can learn in 10 minutes? I think that learning is one of the best ways that we can control things in our life. If we can feel like we're developing ourselves, developing our skills, developing our mind, we feel better. Most of the time, we focus on big goals. So since I've run this workshop for 5 years in a row, I've seen all the amazing big goals. And here are the most common ones I see, by the way. So when I look back at the previous years, here are the big goals I see the most. Learn a new language, learn to code. By the way, I don't know if you felt this way. A lot of people had the goal in the pandemic to learn how to bake sourdough. That is a big goal. That is not even a micro goal. It is so hard. It is so hard to learn to bake sourdough. I don't know who out there is like, Easy sourdough in 10 minutes. That's a big goal, friends. Start a garden, learn how to cook vegan or learn how to cook a certain type of food, get my degree. These are big goals. These are great. I want you to put these on your goal wheel. But what I want you to think about a little differently is a lot of these are hard skills, right? We're thinking about adding technical skills or capabilities. I also want you to think about micro soft skills. I was talking to my team about all the articles and videos we have on our blog, and I was saying, I really want to make our YouTube videos more digestible. I want to make it so that you can learn something really easy, really quick in 10 minutes. And we realized that a lot of our blog posts are these micro soft skills, and there are all kinds of soft skills that you could add to your repertoire. How to sound confident on the phone. That is a micro skill. It's super important if you do phone calls, but it's a micro soft skill. How to make a great first impression on video. It's a couple seconds, but it makes your meetings and your video calls so much easier. So I started to think about all the different soft skills that you can learn. So here's what I want you to think about. What are some micro learning goals that you have? What are some small things you want to learn? Not the big ones, even like I want to learn 50 words in Spanish, or I want to learn one type of sushi roll, not the entire thing, or I want to learn how to plant rosemary in my garden. What is a smaller goal that you can tackle that's either a hard skill or a soft skill? And we can't forget about those soft skills. And so I'm so curious. Please put in chat, what do you want to learn in 2021? What's your micro learning goal? Bonus points here if you want to do both. Bonus points if you want to do both. So if you want to do both, give me your macro goal and give me your micro goal. So tell me what's the big one and what's like the small one that you want to learn. I'm so curious. If either of these goals or any of the learnings have to do with soft skills or relationships or people, so if one of your goals has to do with asking your boss for a raise or changing relationships with clients or changing your team dynamics with colleagues or making better relationships with your colleagues or having less awkward conversations, I would love, love, love to help. I promised that I would open up People School, and this is a very special class of People School indeed. People School is my pride and joy. It is our flagship program. It's everything I wish I learned about people in 12 steps. And we broke down all of my favorite People School into 12 different people skills. So if any of your goals have to do with people skills, I'd love for you to listen. I'm going to go over the curriculum, see if there's something in there that you think, yes, I need help with that. Because that's my goal here, is to actually tie my goals to your goals. So the cool thing about this, we've always been completely virtual. You have lifetime access when you join. And of course, you can take it anytime, anywhere. Here is the curriculum breakdown. So this is what I want you to pay attention to. And I'm curious if one of these stands out to you, put in chat the number. So this is each of our 12 skills. Which skill do you think ties closely to your goals? I'm curious if one of these is like, yes, I need that one. So the very first one is the charisma formula. So this is, I break down the science of charisma. What makes us charismatic? What makes us memorable? On the phone, in person, how does charisma work? Second, if you're often sharing ideas, this could be with friends, this could be with family. If you're sharing your ideas, pitching your ideas, or you've ever felt like you've been interrupted or not taken seriously. And number two, I'm going to talk about how you can be heard more, how you can share your ideas more powerfully. That one's really important if you want to change some things this year, because sometimes you have to get people on board for that. The third one is a really fun one. It's how to be engaging. And this is specifically with body language and nonverbal skills. How do we show up and be memorable? How you will want to watch us on video? How do we bond and connect with our body language? That's a big body language skill. Number four. So number four, I dive into the question, so what do you do? I find that how we talk about ourselves, how we try to get attention in an authentic way where we feel good about getting that attention is a really important people skill that we often overlook. Number five, trust. So the top row is kind of the starter skills. The middle row is the intermediate. And of course, the last one is our most advanced skills. So once we go from the first impressions and basically connecting with people, the next thing is, how do we build trust? How do we make sure that we're showing warmth and authenticity with the people that we're connecting with? Number six, if you're going to have trust and you're going to have warmth, you have to balance it out with skill number six. Skill number six is how to communicate with power. This is specifically about how to like the sound of your own voice, how to sound confident on the phone, how to deliver your ideas. We're going to talk a lot about vocal power in skill number six. It's one of my favorites. Number 7, likability, I think, is one of the most overlooked people skills. Likability, the most likable people get more raises, are obviously liked more in the office, they're invited more, they're included more, and they're appreciated more. So if you feel like you are underappreciated, or you feel like people don't recognize you for your work, likability is actually a critical part of that. And skill number 7, I also talk about my conversation blueprint. So I go through the 3 steps of conversation and how to move someone from chit chat to engaging talk. I'm allergic to small talk. I can't stand chit chat. The older I get, the less tolerance I have for shallow conversation. Skill number 7 is how to level up those conversations. Skill number 8, this is a pure decoding skill. It's how to decode nonverbal behavior, how to spot hidden emotions, how to read behind the words. So read between the lines nonverbally. It's a great skill to have in your back pocket, especially if you felt like you've had people in your past, toxic people. If you've had some toxic people that you work with, or you have people that you don't quite get, you're like, I don't understand this person. They drive me crazy. If you have a person who drives you crazy, skill number 8 is for you. All right. The most advanced skills. So number 9, mastering conversation. I give you my conversation blueprint in skill number 7. Number 9 is about taking that to the next level. How to make sure that you are identifying conversational roles, conversational passengers and conversational drivers, which is a really fun skill. Actually, a lot of our students pick number 9 as their favorite skill. The most popular skills from all of our students are number 2 and number 9. At the very end of People School, we give you a big survey and we say, what can we do better? And over again, students pick number 2 and number 9 as their favorites. Number 10, assertiveness. Being socially assertive is the new confidence. Being confident is wonderful. And we're going to talk a lot about it in People School, but being able to assert yourself in a way that makes you feel comfortable, especially for introverts. If you are an introvert and you want to be able to be heard and be confident without having to be loud, I want to teach you how to be assertive without having to pretend to be an extrovert. Too many introverts are told, oh, just pretend to be an extrovert. No, I want you to honor your introversion. 11, influence. I saved influence for the very last one because it's a really powerful skill and I want to make sure it's used in the right way. So at the very end of the course, we dive deep into how to increase your influence. And the last one is all about team science, strengthening your connection with your colleagues, with your family, with your team. I also talk again there about dealing with difficult people. How do you bond and work with and connect with people who are just a little bit difficult? So here's how it works. We have a very, very simple process. So first, when you enroll, if you enroll today, we will ship you a goodie box. So we ship you a bunch of gifts. We shipped you a real workbook that you can have, you can go along with as you watch all the videos. And that's no matter where you are in the world, we ship that to you. And then you get access to our 12 video training modules. So there are 12 different skills and then a lot of bonuses. This is over 31 hours and we are constantly adding to it. I actually think that number is a little bit low. I think it's more like 34 hours now because we've added a couple of new bonuses. Every module has a piece of science, a framework, and a strategy for how to do it. What we also did is I filmed People School with real students so that they could be your case study. And at the end of each lesson, we filmed a Q&A session so that you can actually see how students are using those skills in real life. We also, I think this is about after the second or third class of People School, we turned every single video into audio. So a lot of our students will watch the video, but then also listen to the recording of the audio on their phone while they're cooking, while they're driving. So we also have the video and audio for you. And then so many bonuses. So the one great thing about People School, since it's our flagship course, when new things come up in the world, I film a new bonus. When you have questions or topics where you're like, Vanessa, I really wish you would cover video calls, I can then go and film a bonus. For example, the bonus that I did this year was an entire bonus on being charismatic on video. How to present on video, how to speak on video, how to lead meetings on video, because it was so relevant for this year. And luckily, People School already had a ton for digital work, remote work, but we've added even more bonuses for it. We also have an amazing email concierge. I think Scott's on the call. He runs our support. So as you're learning and you have questions or you have feedback, you get to email us with anything that you have. We want you to feel like we're there when you need us. We try not to bother you with your learning. You can learn whenever you want, but we're there when you have questions or need us. The third has become my favorite part of People School. So when I first launched People School, of course, it was all about the modules and the science. Now that we've been running People School for a couple of years, we've had thousands of graduates go through People School and come back and rewatch and share their goals. My favorite part of People School now is our live monthly workshops. So this started as office hours. We used to have live office hours where I took questions. And then I was like, no, we can do more with this. And so now every month I teach brand new content. So for about 30 to 40 minutes, I teach new science, new case studies. We actually run little workshops. We play games. We talk to each other about what's happening in the world with new science or new strategies, new framework. I also have stories that I share from the real world, case studies from students. That's every single time I do 30 to 40 minutes of teaching. And then we also do Q&A. So I take your questions, we do case studies, we talk about new science, we practice your log lines. So we practice, what should you say when someone asks you, what do you do? I get to hear from you, hear feedback. You can see each other if you want. Of course, you don't have to put on your video if you don't want to. It's so special. I look forward to it all month. We have one in 2 weeks and I already can't wait. I have a bunch of science already lined up. These live monthly workshops are amazing because it helps us expand and grow together. Over the last few months, they've been incredibly important. What's really special about this class is my team and I made a decision that this is the last class where we will have unlimited monthly workshops. So one thing that we found was the bigger the office hours get, the harder it is to answer everyone's questions. And so I want to make sure that that's really important. This is the last class. If you buy this class, you will be able to attend monthly workshops forever. They'll be grandfathered in, you can always attend. Next time we have our big class People School, you will only get 12 months of access. And that's so that I can keep these office hours small, so I can actually answer all of your questions, so I can know people by their names, by their homework. And so this is the last time you'll be able to buy it and be able to join us for as long as you want. Next time around, you'll only get 12 months. So it's a really, really special class because it's the only time that we'll be able to keep learning every month as we go. We have so many different kinds of students in People School. People often ask me, who joins? We have 3 different kinds of students. The first bucket are our professionals. These are our high achieving professionals. They are looking to grow their skills. They want to be managers or they are managers. They're C-suite. They're looking to expand their practices. We have a lot of healthcare workers and doctors. So high achieving professionals is our first bucket. Our second bucket are entrepreneurs. These are folks who run their own business or even run their own side hustles and need skills on hiring, running teams, pitching themselves, pitching their ideas, talking to VCs. They use People School as sort of an entrepreneurial think tank. And our last group are our pivoters. So our pivoters are folks who are in between things, or they're just starting a new job, or they're thinking, I want to do something different, but I don't quite know what it is. And they join People School to get inspired, to hit reset, to get new ideas, to meet other interesting professionals who are doing interesting things, to do a little bit of self-growth and self-exploration. So I love pivoters because they always come into People School with ideas, and usually they leave People School achieving some kind of goal and reaching some kind of really interesting decision. We have so many different bonuses that we have in People School. I have a bonus on getting your raise, asking for a raise or raising your rate, cold approaches. There's a ton in there. The biggest thing that I want to highlight at the very bottom here is our office hours library. So even though you're joining right now, you get access to every single live monthly training that we've filmed. So we have an entire video bonus library of all the office hours going back to 2017. So the great news is you're not just getting these monthly office hours, you're also getting past ones. My big goal for this year is I really want this to be a reset for you. I really want you to feel like you can come into People School, have a community, and I can support you along with your goal. The very first thing you do when you get into People School is you pick a goal. And this time around, I want you to actually do a big goal and a micro goal. You can also take People School in those 10-minute learnables. So if you just want to watch 10 minutes of a skill each day, People School could be your 10-minute wins for the entire year. So if you were to break up People School into 10-minute wins, it would sustain you and fill you for 365 days. Which is like amazing. So if you are having trouble thinking about what those wins can be, this could be your reset button. What I really want to say is thank you. So what you might not realize, and I'll go full screen so I can see you all much better, is People School and this community and doing these webinars is the highlight of my teaching. I love this community. I love learning with you. I love hearing from you. My favorite thing after these webinars is to go and read the entire chat. I only get to skim it right now, but I love hearing from you. I want to help you achieve your goals. So I want to thank you for giving me this sacred hour today, kicking off your new year right with me. Whether you join People School or not, I hope you'll always join us in these free classes. I have a commitment that I will always post free videos for you, and I will always be doing free classes for you because I love them. So we are starting 2021 right together. I want to hear what your micro goals are. I want you to set aside 10 minutes to win every day, whether that's in People School or on your own. I cannot wait to hear about it. I'm going to be posting a lot of my micro wins on social so you can follow along. Later, I'm going to cut off these 2 hair pieces that I missed. Later today, I want you to do one 10-minute win. Think of what's one win that you can do later today. I want to thank you so much. I give you a round of applause for listening. Thank you for giving me your time, and we'll see you in our next class. Bye, everyone.